It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how is it going? And welcome to the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It is Monday, August 26th, and so happy for you joining us. We are ready to start another week together with the Lord. So subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we have an exciting podcast for you. We have Provi in the media, the Sunday message word study, and of course, commentaries, updates, and news on what is happening around the world in this history today. All right, everyone, how are you doing? And yes, it is another week. It's already Monday, guys, and we're getting close to the end of the week. Well, by the end of this week, we're going to already be going into September, which is so crazy. Not because it's my birthday, guys. Not because it's on the 6th. And I don't want to just bring this up constantly because that's not something I want to do. But yeah, we're getting close to September, which is the 9th month of the year, which is crazy, right? Also, don't forget we have Q&A Thursday every single week, so get those questions ready. Send them to me whenever you can. I am getting a bunch of messages, questions being sent for the Sunday through my email. If you have anything, you can put in the comments, you can DM me, or you can put in my email too. All right. For today's video, make sure if you haven't yet, leave a like and comment to build our community. I am super happy for everyone joining us every weekday on the Morning Star Drive. So let's get up and support each other each and every day. This week's Sunday message title, powerful one. Do the mission to the end with joy and excitement. Right? So this is a great message, powerful one, and I'm sure a lot of people are struggling and going through these things too, so I really, really hope that all of us can have that, received a lot of power and strength from the Sunday message too. So it is already Monday, and I'm getting close to a month, right? A month into my tenure as an IMD director, and my learning curve is getting much shorter as time is going on. And, one of the things that really came up to me that I thought about, especially because I've been traveling for so long. I meet tons of people from all the different countries, all the leaders and stuff like that too. And there's something that I started to think about. It's really interesting because it's, there's an advantage of me meeting and knowing tons of people from all the different countries, all the leaders and stuff like that too, right? And it's interesting because, man, I'm getting so quick into this. I didn't even give a really good intro for you guys to, just to say how things were going, how the weekend was, how the amazing career department retreat was and stuff like that too. But yeah, it's so interesting because I'm starting to, I'm talking to the people I already know, right? I'm talking to the people I already know, but it's a completely different relationship. Now, what does that mean? Well, all the people that I know, that I've traveled, I met these people here and there, the relationship is basically between friends, right? I never had a mission. But now that I have a mission, it's really, really interesting because I'm starting to think about the distance between me and people. Well, not the distance. I mean, separating. What does that mean? The separation of friendship and mission. So, Sansim says to be a good leader, you can't get too close, and you also can't get too far. And when I look at my own situation, and I really think about how I need to adjust for those two situations of friendship and mission. Because, I'm a director. And that is a mission where, I'm taking care of things in a certain way and I have responsibility and a role. And if I get too close to people when I'm doing my mission, then, what happens is, as Sunseem says, when you get too close to the sun, you get burnt, right? So what happens is when people get too close, they don't really get burnt I'm going to all of a sudden rebuke them and stuff like that. But it basically means that people start to lose the value, right, of the mission itself, And then, of course, if it's too far, if you're too far from people, then people feel like unrelatable. It's too cold. They can't talk to you and stuff like that too. So there's like a sweet spot. There's like a sweet range right in the middle. And, when I was younger, my thoughts were actually, man, if a leader can be like a friend, right? But when you become a leader, you realize there's got to be separation, right? Like it depends on the situation and circumstance, and you need to be able to discern and separate between when you're doing your mission and when you are friends, kind of thing, right? And I think it's a really interesting thing to think about, because in my position, like I said, I know a ton of people from all over the world, many different countries, all the leaders and such too, and just many different types of relationships with people. And it's interesting because some call me pastor, some call me friend, some call me uncle, and I have to think to myself is how, like, to be able to have the wisdom to discern and to have the boundaries in the situations and circumstances, right? Or else, it could cause problems later. Because think about this. If I'm too close to someone, then people will think that I'm favoring that person or that I'm giving special treatment. And it could just, even if I'm not doing it, even if I'm not giving favoritism or whatever it is, it can look that way. And the optics are really, really important, right? So the optics are how it looks from the public view. And I think this is something that we all have to recognize also. The optics are very, very important in leadership. Like, let me give you an example. In the Baptist church, there is a rule for male pastors that they cannot be in a closed room with the opposite sex. Even if nothing happens, it's all about optics. So if people even think there is something wrong, there is something bad going on, there's like some like sexual misconduct between that pastor and that woman, what's going to happen? Even though they don't know it's true, even though it may not be true, but if you put yourself in that type of situation and they think that there's a problem, then when the pastor's on the pulpit, they're not going to listen or accept what the pastor said. They're going to think instead that this pastor is a hypocrite. There's something wrong with him. They have some type of problems. They're not going to listen or respect the pastor. And even if they're not right, even if they're just assuming that something's bad, but even if it's false, it still has a huge effect. And I can see that in any public position, the optics are just as important. Someone can do nothing wrong, but there is no choice but to step down or be replaced because people have lost faith or respect in that person because of the optics. And I think it's a really unfortunate circumstance. It's something that we have to understand really well, that in the public eye, even how you present yourself makes a difference, right? Like even when I'm in Wonbyeong, I notice it because in Korea it's a little bit more image driven, right? So I'm at the head leader prayer meeting in Wonbyeong. It's my first time going. I was totally underdressed. I was wearing khakis and like a polo. And for me, it was just confusing because I'm either overdressed or underdressed. It's so weird for me. Like to be in Korea and being overdressed, it feels a little bit weird. So my first headquarters meeting, I go in there fully dressed up in a tie and a suit. Completely dressed, like overdressed. And I'm like, I got in there. I was like, oh, so it's not like this. So I'm totally overdressed. So, and then I go to the head leader's prayer meeting and I'm totally underdressed. So I'm learning what is optimal, how I should be dressed in each situation. And I'm learning as I go. But it was really funny because I was in the cafeteria and someone's like, one of the pastors like, Pastor Sky, do you remember the head leader's prayer? I was like, yeah. And they're like, you were very underdressed. I was like, I know. I had no idea it was like that. So, I'm overdressed in one, underdressed the next. And, people see it and, they're going to they're going to be thinking something. The only good thing is, for myself, of course I'm going to fix it. I'm going to dress appropriately. But for myself, I don't really care what people think. I just don't. Like, it's not a big thing that I'm like, oh no, people are thinking this about me, me, right? And I'm just like, I don't care. Like, that's one thing I don't care about is like, yeah, I dressed it wrong. I'm going to fix it. I'm not going to be someone who's going to be like a total like jerk, right? That's going to be like, well, I don't care what you think. I'm going to dress the way I want. I'm totally not like that, right? But, it's not a big deal for me what people think. They can think whatever they want. It is fine, right? But I will be better dressed the next meeting. I'll be more appropriately dressed, right? And, it's just, I'm here, constant adjustments, learning and growing, and I like it. I do. So far, these last 3 weeks have been fun. Learning and learning, making mistakes and learning again. And, for myself, I've been living in the countryside for 3 weeks now. And it's very interesting because I realize once again how human beings can just get used to anything. It's not really that bad anymore. Like, I still think I'd rather be in the city and drive a little bit more, and I think it's okay. However, it's not that bad. One of the good, like I told you guys before, one of the great things about living in the countryside is I don't really spend that much money. There's actually nothing to spend money on. Even right now, I went to go, I wanted to find something to eat, but it was like 9 p.m. Everything's closed. The only place I could drive to was a convenience store, and that's it. And even at the convenience store, they don't even have that triangle kimbap. They don't even have that. So I was kind of like, what? So I just ate this purple rice that had like chestnuts and beans and stuff like that in it because I'm just like, ugh. I gotta deal with it. And like, there's just nowhere to go eat in the countryside. So I'm gonna tell you guys something pretty interesting. So this is something that interesting that happened over the weekend. And there was a conference. Like, there's a conference in, while the retreats are going on. Also, Taiwan has this awesome program. And they have these, I would say, Chinese professors. None of them are members. Chinese professors that are, they do a conference and they study theology. They study religion, religious history and stuff like that too. And they had a conference in Wollongdong because they studied about Providence too. And yeah, they're not members, but they study religion. And they come in totally like as non-religious. Totally non-religious, only coming in from a very academic standpoint. And it is so interesting. So I had dinner with them on Saturday during the retreat. So during the retreat, they had a tour of all these other different places, and then they come in to eat dinner, and I was with the people that spoke English. Like, just having a really good time. But man, it's so different talking to these academics. It's completely unemotional, like completely. Because they're not religious. They study religion, but they themselves aren't even that religious, but they're interested in how religion works, how the systems, make certain things, make people happy, make people make them do certain behaviors and stuff like that too. And, it's funny because the guy I was with, he's from Hong Kong, and there's another professor these two professors from Hong Kong speak English really well, right? And like the guy is like cussing and stuff. Right? And we're just talking about a little bit on how, like, in the foreign, like in America and Canada, like being woke is kind of like a religion. And it was just here and there. And he was just he's like, it's completely ridiculous because, even if someone's ugly, like now you can't even say someone's ugly, even though it's like purely an opinion. It's like free speech kind of thing, right? And he's like, you would say something like, man, I can't even say to someone, man, you're effing ugly. Like he would say the actual word, right? And it's kind of funny because, we're in Wollongdong, the Holy Land, and this guy's cussing and stuff, right? But I found it quite funny, and I understood because he's not a member. right? He is someone he's a professor studying religion. The other one was a theologian studying theology. And we had some interesting conversations. And one of the interesting things that they were talking about was actually why Providence was there are so many female leaders in Providence compared to any other religion. Like it's so far, they said it was just so lopsided that in Providence, it was like this. So our conversation started off talking about the Industrial Revolution, even like 400, 500 years ago, when there was a big shift, when women were able to be able to do more, right? And we're talking even before the feminist movement. So we were talking about this. What were the influences of it? And we were talking about this. And as I was talking, it was really interesting because when it's members, when we're talking to each other right now, because we believe in this history, we know all the things that have happened. Ours is ours is more doctrinal and spiritual, including emotional. So the things that actually sway our thoughts and our minds are more the spiritual and more inner, right? And I would be thinking to myself I started off a little bit talking more emotional, but the way they respond is very technical and academic, very scholarly. I was like, oh, interesting. Oh, they're talking about the industrial. Oh, they're talking about this, what happened in the past. Oh, so this is when women actually had a chance, right? And then I brought up doctrine and I said, well, we can think about it multiple ways, like the 3 stages of the Old Testament, New Testament, Complete Testament, right? And in the Old Testament, it's because, the belief that Eve was the one that tempted Adam, so she had a higher punishment, so that's why women were not allowed to be in leadership. And the New Testament, this happens, Complete Testament, but even then, the doctrinal things weren't the things that really caught their eye. The interesting point that came up that the professor brought up to me was this. I said, well, one of the things that we do teach is about the bride and bridegroom level. And then he said, well, in Buddhism too, no, not Buddhism, in Hinduism, what was it? He said that one of the gods said that the greatest level of relationship is a husband and wife. But even though Hinduism is teaching this, there's still no women leaders. So why are there more women leaders in Providence than any other religion? So guys, you can kind of see that it's a very, very different way of thinking. It really is. I'm just like, whoa. And it made me think so deeply from a very worldly perspective, not spiritual, not doctrinal, but trying to figure this out. And the thing that became super interesting was this. The inspiration I got was, I told him, was like, okay, so the Hinduism, one of the gods says that the husband and wife is the greatest relationship, right? But it's not. But the difference with Providence and what that Hindu god said is that Providence, our core tenet, the absolute, the number one thing that we focus on is the purpose of creation. And this is the central tenet of Providence, which is love, that we are bride and bridegroom with God, which may be more something that is more relatable to women than to men to say that we are brides. And this is when I look at their faces and they both looked at me like, ooh, it's the central tenet. It is love. It is the relationship of love. And that made them think super deeply about it. And right when that happened, there was another announcement, and then Sunseem gave a gift to all of the professors. He gave them all a framed picture of Woimyeongdong, which is awesome, right? So they're all there getting the gifts and taking pictures and stuff like that too. But yeah, it's another world. It is completely another world and another level. And I really enjoyed it because it was completely unemotional. Well, I'm not saying that I'm someone who's completely unemotional. The reason I liked it because it was so different than what I'm used to. I'm used to people being more emotional, sticking to something because that's what they've learned all their life, trying to break their perspective and such. They had zero perspective. Their thoughts and the way that they think and the way that they're discussing things, so different than how a religious person would be like just defending Jesus. No, it's all about Jesus. But they're more like, oh, this makes sense. Oh, I never thought about this. Oh, I never thought about that too. And yeah, the topics and conversations that we had, it was like don't get me wrong with this. It was like a bunch of guys talking together just logically. Like it was just no emotion. What is the reason behind it? What are some things that actually what are the actual causations of why it's like this? And he would even be making jokes. And I was completely like, he made this professor made this funny joke. So remember we were talking about being woke and stuff. And one of the things he said was, he's like, if you say that someone is effing ugly, then you could have a lawsuit. And then he's like, but I don't want to do that because you guys already have enough lawsuits as it is. And he's laughing and stuff. And I was laughing because you totally know that he's not coming from a place of malice. It's just the situation that he knows, and he's just kind of having fun with it. So for me, I was laughing together with him. I was like, yeah, we have a lot of lawsuits, obviously, kind of thing, right? So for me, I thought it was quite interesting, and that I had a very thoughtful and like a deep dive in my brain in an area that I've never really been in. So that was something I was super grateful, super thankful for. And when I listened to this, I was like, wow, that's so awesome. And I was thankful, I was grateful, and to spend the time with the professors. I actually wish I spent more time with them also, but very grateful, very thankful for that too. For me right now, I've been, like I said, I'm in my 4th week now as a director. Lots of different amazing things that have happened. And yeah, I think it's a good idea. I'm actually having fun. Like I'm really, really enjoying it so far. And when I say so far, because I know that after listening to the Sunday message, it's going to be tribulations and difficulties, and you got to endure it and stuff like that too. But I was like, yeah, I really, really enjoy it thus far. And I'm seeing things from a different perspective point of view. And I'm seeing the background where I can see why there is misunderstanding sometimes with, like even for me, I would say this. I haven't had a very good image of IMD, and it has nothing to do with the people that are working here right now. It has more to do with the people that I didn't get along with in the past. And we know those, it was like the last one, which was like, no. There was another person, but before that, we know the 2 people that were persecuting and slandering. Like, it was like, we all know Kyla was one of them. And there was another girl right after her. And those 2, I couldn't get along with them. I just couldn't. And even before 2023, I already never had such a couple of bad run-ins that I just stopped talking to them altogether, right? And if you think about it, if you have a lot of bad experiences, it's almost like you're guilty by association kind of thing, right? All these people that were here during that time when those 2 leaders, and you kind of think to yourself, or it's very easy to misunderstand, isn't it? It's true. You could misunderstand badly. And what I found that was quite interesting is, in the past when I do hear complaints, I can see why, and I can see reality of what's actually happening behind the scenes, right? So let me give an example. In the past, like people would be like, "Oh my gosh, what's IMD doing? This. Have they sent my letter in? Yada yada yada. Why are they like this? Why are they like that?" Kind of thing, right? And I've heard it before. I myself haven't like personally worked directly with IMD in the past, right? This is like my real first time, and then being behind the scenes, and I can totally see it. I can totally see it, right? For instance, I had this one person that I talked to, and very good friend of mine. Well, I'll just tell you, it's like Pastor David, and he's like he wrote a letter, but it's during the time of the retreats and hundreds of foreigners coming, and then there has to be translation, and then on top of it, the trial is going on. The trial is going on too, right? So it's not like you're just going to be sending a really, really important letter like on the day or the day before the trial. Like you're not going to be doing that. And these are all things that we're keeping in mind while we're taking care of, like right now, there's like 5 countries that are in here with 350 some odd people. Like there's so many things going on. And I dropped the ball. I really did. Because it was so busy. And eventually I was like, man, that's my fault. And I'd have to tell, Pastor Dave, like, hey, Pastor Dave, this is my fault. There's this happening. And we had to hold off because we wanted to wait for the trial to end to send this letter. And this isn't this. And, I was like, man, I am so sorry. And, he's very, very, if you guys know you guys know Pastor David Baker. He is one of the most kindest and understanding leaders you'll meet. He's like at that level. He's at the level where you can basically spit in his face and he'll still be understanding. Like he's that level. Of course, I never did that, right? But he's at that type of level. And he's like, oh, okay. And honestly, when people write, it's important stuff too. And I'm just like, I am so sorry. That's my fault. And he is like, no worries, I understand. This is a situation. I was like, yeah, next time I will make sure, kind of thing, And that's something that when I can totally see now why there could be miscommunication or misunderstanding. I can totally see it. Because there's so many things happening behind the scenes. So many things you need to check. So many things you have to check with other people. So many things you need to check if it's the right timing, if things are happening, if they're not. Like, it's something where you're looking at like, I'm sitting there in awe and amazement at the people that are still like, there's 3 people that I'm working with right now. I'm in awe. I really am. Like I haven't told this to their face, but I'm in awe. I'm just like, what? They're so good at it because they've been doing it for so long. And the things that they, because they've been doing it for so long, the way that they think, they see the situations, they've seen it many times, and the way that they're trying to deal with it is far different. And I'm in that situation. I'm like, what? Like, how did you? Oh, I didn't know it would be like. Okay. Like, it's so crazy. And I would say that dealing with that many countries. And not just dealing with the countries, but even inside the country with multiple churches. And even with the multiple churches, all the individuals. I'm not going to say this is an excuse. I'm just saying that there's just so many things going on, so much information that needs to be checked and rechecked and rechecked and rechecked, that I would say that from what I've seen so far, for myself, I would always give them the benefit of the doubt. I personally would, because it's just incredible. I'm just like, whoa. I'm just like, what? And some of the, even like, I'm only 4 weeks. I'm not even 4 weeks in, but it's kind of funny because I'm sitting in the headquarters meeting. I don't know what the heck is going on in Korea, right? Because I'm not living in Korea. I don't know. I haven't even seen what's happened. I've been in the foreign countries. The foreign countries are 1% of the complications of Korea. 1%, guys. And it just makes absolute sense, not because it's chaotic here, it's because there's, 1,000 times more people. And with more people comes more complications, right? So when I look at Korea, it is 1,000, well, maybe not 1,000, maybe hundreds of times more complicated than the other countries. I'll be sitting in the meeting. I have zero things to say because in my mind, I'm just like, I had no idea that was going on. I'm like, what? What? I have no idea that's going on. I have nothing to add to the meeting. I have zero. I really do. I have zero to add to the meeting and I'm kind of stuck, right? I'm just like, what? But it's interesting to kind of get a grasp of the full picture of what's happening in Korea. And it helps me to understand a little bit better where, some of it has to do with culture, some of it has to do with language. So, there's a lot of things that are different about it. And I just find it very, very interesting. And I was just like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's kind of interesting. So, for me, I'm learning a lot. I'm in awe. I am actually someone who's just like, wow. And, I'll tell you something this too. So, I was right now I talk to HQs in the Western countries and stuff like that too, and we're having discussions and talking and stuff. And as I'm talking to them, they're asking me questions of like, what's the team going to look like in the future, and this and that. And in my head, I'm just like, I like my team here. The team is great. They know exactly what they're doing. They're helping me. They're very patient with me. Even if Sunseam will be the one that ultimately changes things, I'm not going to be asking for anything. I'm just like, wow. It's so crazy. And guys, think about this. I want you guys to really think about this. There's 4 of us doing the entire world. And there's going to be another person coming in, thank God. But I'm just like, yeah, the great thing is we're just absolutely focused on all the things that are going on and working on the things that we need to work on too. So I am very, very super impressed. And I am hoping that I can be somewhat as efficient and capable as them, right? And I'm going to tell you guys too, if you guys have any questions or things that you're really, really concerned about and you may not know about IMD, I'll try to answer the ones I can the best. I will, because, we're all connected. We're all here together. And I'm sure also, guys, that if you're not in leadership like a head leader or headquarters, you are not going to be dealing with us. You basically won't be dealing with us, right? And you're probably going to be more dealing with your leaders and with your HQ way more than you're going to be dealing with us. Very few of you are actually going to be dealing with us directly. Very few, right? So that's why, I think that sometimes when you have something that you need to get done, but you have 3 sections above you, like you have head leaders and headquarters and then IMD and stuff, that's where a lot of things can get lost along the way, right? Or things may not be done as you thought it would be done somewhere along the way, right? Or somewhere along the way back kind of thing, right? So that is something that I do think that we have to be aware of too, because it's not simple. Right? It's not very simple. Well, the smaller the country it is, the more simple it is. But the bigger your country becomes, the more complicated it just gets altogether, right? So even for me, I am very, very grateful and thankful once again. Oh, let me tell you this last thing. Okay, this is the last thing that I want to tell you about. This is something that I was really moved and inspired by. So when Sunseam was telling me what direction he wants me to do for my mission, one of the things he says, he wants me to go to a certain pastor to get some coaching. And I met this pastor, and they just wanted to know what my story was and everything else. And I told them, and they're so shocked. They're like, you're so close to KJS. Like, you're so close to her. How did you escape? And when I told her the full story, and one of the things that she was shocked by, and she kind of pointed out to me that that's an amazing miracle, is that for 4 years I didn't like Korea. For 4 years, and this is before this, all the 2023 and stuff like that. I just didn't want to live in Korea. I didn't want to be in Korea at all. I loved Malaysia. I loved Southeast Asia. I like my own country. That's where I was staying most of that. Everyone's like, why do you like Malaysia so much? Why do you like Malaysia so much? Right? And it was kind of taboo. Then I'm like, I don't like Korea. And then after everything is all settled and done, I'm living in Korea right now. Like the place I said I never want to live in. And this pastor's like, God just sheltered you. He took you away from all the chaos. That for 4 years, you didn't even want to touch ground in Korea. So you were never influenced. You were never next to KJS and all those other people to say things about me like this and that. And only when all the things were over, you were brought back. And when I thought about that too, I was like, I never thought about it that way. 2019, I was in Korea for 5 months. This is the time when Sunseem was out playing volleyball, doing all these things. Then I went to Malaysia, went back to Korea, and then Sunseem's like, yeah, go run in Malaysia and stuff, right? And then from 2020, I went to Malaysia, and after 2.5 months, the pandemic comes in, and I'm stuck in Malaysia for another 1.5 years. Then I go to Canada for 1.5 years. Go back to Malaysia for 6 months. Go back to Canada for 6 months. Back to Malaysia. And then what happens? I get a new mission. And I'm going to Korea, the one place I don't even want to live. And I'm okay here. I have no problems. And I was just like, God, you really protected me. And then, of course, when the negative sky comes in, I'm like, what, you think I'm too weak to handle all this? What, you trying to treat me like a baby? Like, sometimes, you kind of like, oh, is it because I'm too weak? But I was really thinking about, I was like, God, you really saved me, because everyone else in that situation, almost all of them are gone. Almost every single person in that situation is gone. And I'm just like, what? That's so crazy. And I became even more thankful that God saved me from that train wreck that would have happened to me last year. I would have been influenced even more than I am now, right? So that was something that when I was telling the story, this pastor kind of opened my eyes to it. And I wanted to testify and say that I was so thankful to God that he did that. Like, he kept me away from that craziness over there too. All right. So either way, that is, that's my first segment. Hope it's something that makes you guys think a little bit more deeply. I'm sure it did in some cases or some conversations. But if not, I hope the word study will help you think more deeply too. All right. So before we get into the Sunday message word study, let's get into the first music break of the day.
Just like the rest, I walked in death, not knowing the value of a single breath. My pride was the biggest prize I had to protect, walking around high and mighty, sticking out my chest. Calling the shots like I know what's best, living how I like, but I piled up a debt. Outside's alive and aware the inside is dead, and suddenly truth shined just like the dawn. All things in life I knew 0%. Then I realized how far I was gone. Wasn't right about anything, I was dead wrong. Everything thought to be reality was a fallacy. My life wasn't great, it was a tragedy. All I knew was fake, I thought I'm losing my sanity. All the while gazing at me was the Trinity, looking with love, grace, and mercy. Patiently working consistently with me, and eventually brought me to the new history. I learned about someone new whom they used. He worked with heaven and I learned his stories. He is living proof that the Bible's words are true. On the scene at 15, splitting every single seam. God's words flow from him like he's a stream. preaching to the point that even his throat would bleed. The most impressive person I have ever seen, him speaking the truth revealed everything to me. Parables, holy sun, soul entity, spiritual universe. Frankly, I don't think he's done. He's taught me 1,000 tons, too much for a single verse. This is so amazing to the point I may burst. I'm sure he's the one the Bible said would come. Where else would this earth-shattering word come from? Then I really realized he is the Messiah, sent to the world and raise humanity a level higher. Didn't come to destroy, but the word is the fire. Amen to the very end, my faith won't expire. He's been going 79 years and hasn't tired. Due to that condition, the greatest blessing we've acquired. Between him and the Trinity, that time was finally captured. I'm sure now that they got their bride, nothing can match her. Rapture, that's what we received. Was evangelized, lectured, managed, now I believe. Never knew this was something I could achieve. Your blessings really flow endlessly. I promise you, I'll never leave. So I'll stay with you to the death of me. With you I've fulfilled my destiny. Now I'll reboot, give you the best of me. Offering my youth, running even faster. For me and so many, you're not just a pastor. You're the shepherd over all these pastures. King of kings, Lord of lords, that's for sure. We're a perfect match, a hand and a glove. The atmosphere in the air is full of love. Came from above to hold the banquet. So I'll GGG eternally for 316. Just cause I was swept into the net of the word, heard and learned, doesn't mean it's over yet. I really need to look at myself and reflect, line up against God's perfect law and check. All my flaws need to be resolved. Be bold to slanderers when I try to call. Like him, I'm thankful for tribulations, cause I didn't fall. With the rapture, I'm standing tall. The love they give is truly priceless. If I'm not with the Lord, life enters crisis. Without him, I'm a ship that's wrecked to pieces. So I'll always eat the word. Box of Reese's, stick to him, red blood cell and Reese's. I praise God for sending son, sing him, and Jesus. He had a plan for them before they were a fetus, to reveal to the world heaven's deep secrets. With his name, bring the pain, breaking Satan's noses. With the Lord's condition, let's show him a comatosis. While looking at heaven, never losing focus, conversing in our thoughts every single moment. Then a spiritual rapture will never be stolen. If you only see strife, come see what peace is. If you want to know heaven, come and see this. If life were an essay, this is the thesis. Rapture, that's what we received. Was evangelized, lectured, managed, now I believe. Never knew this was something I could achieve. Your blessings really flow endlessly. I promise you, I'll never leave. So I'll stay with you to the death of me. With you I've fulfilled my destiny. Now I'll reboot, give you the best of me. Offering my youth, running even faster. For me and so many, you're not just a pastor. You're the shepherd over all these pastures. King of kings, Lord of lords, that's for sure. We're a perfect match, a hand and a glove. The atmosphere in the air is full of love. Came from above to hold the banquet. So I'll GGG eternally for 316. Remember, this wasn't given for free, so always hear the word and do good deeds. Praising those that saved us is an amazing thing, and live with them in love. 1 John 3:18. Be like him, always run on God's team. If you live like him, you'll surely succeed. Believe him, absolutely, and gotta let you pass. If you want the greatest salvation, walk this only path.
All right, so let's get into today's Sunday message word study, and a lot to talk about, a lot of things to go through. Very, very hungry message once again. I really enjoyed it, but the title was just great. Do the mission to the end with joy and excitement. And what an interesting what an interesting scripture to take from Haggai, right? Chapter 1, verse 14. Like it's a book that we never really, no one really quotes from. No one really even talks about too. So, yeah, it's very, very interesting. I liked the very first paragraph, or the first words that were spoken. It's talking about climate change, right? Everyone's like, global warming, it's climate change, it's this and that. And God's like, no, it's because it's how they treat the heavens. And I was just like, boom, right? It told, I know when we're talking about climate change, people get crazy into that. And Sunsi's talked about this multiple times about climate change. And Sunsi even said that even if we were ruining the planet, God would not allow it the planet to just get destroyed. He wouldn't allow it. And so he said even stuff to the point of, God would inspire people to find an answer, right? So, don't worry about it. The world's not going to end because of us, right? Like we're going to be the ones destroying the world and stuff like that. He says, no, the world's going to end when God wants it to. It's up to God. It's not up to us kind of thing. So I really liked him when he's talking about global warming, because I don't really like how it's talked about in the news and stuff, and it brings us to a little bit more of the reality of the spiritual situation, where something's like, no. This heat wave and all these things happening, it's not global warming. It's how you treat the heavens. And most of the people in the world they don't even know what's going on, because they don't, like a lot of people in the world don't care about religion anymore anyways, right? So let's get into the message part, right? And I like that first. I like it when the message said, whenever God gave anyone his mission, he sent people in twos, gave them missions, and let them do God's work. And that makes me think really deeply too about the mission I'm doing right now. And I thought to myself, is there going to be a second person? Because we are expecting someone to be there for the Asian countries. However, the interesting part is I even see myself in twos, as in me and the three people that are already here. Like I look at that as the being sent in twos also. So that is something that it really made me think a lot, but it also makes me think about all the other missions that I had, and I thought, who was the other person that I was working in for that mission too? Big excerpt from the message I liked. God helps in various ways after giving people big work to do. One of the ways he helps is by inspiring people's hearts to become united and do the work with joy. I would say that is happening right now in IMDU. Like I really feel more and more united with them, and our hearts are more inspired to be working together. And then it says, whenever God gives individuals, churches, and nations work to do for his will, God and the Holy Spirit make them do the work with joy by inspiring and exciting them, right? And then, one of the big examples is also when the temple of God was made. That's where the scripture of Haggai comes in, right? About the two, Joshua and who was the other person? It was Joshua and Zerubbabel, right? Those two were the ones that helped to rebuild the temple again. But in the same way, who was it doing Wonmyeongdong? It was Sansunim and also Pastor Bamsung, right? And that for me, I was just like, yeah, that makes total sense. And when you look at Wonmyeongdong now, Wonmyeongdong is a place where people get excited. It's a place where it gives people a ton of joy, right? And I hope it's something that it will continue to do that for us each and every day also. The message said, the person who goes to the end is the strongest. To go to the end, you need strength. In the course of going to the end, all others will disappear and you will ultimately walk alone. It's kind of sad, though, that you have to walk alone at the end. But obviously, it's not talking about providence. It's just talking about us and the path that we take. Who is the strongest person? It is the one that goes until the end, right? And as you continue to go and not quit, this is when everyone else, dies off. So I hope it's something that all of us can really understand and think about too. God said, like one of the quotes of God, nothing is impossible for those who remain and do the work that needs to be done by themselves together with me, God, the Holy Spirit, and the Lord. They will do everything. I was inspired by this because it's talking about us. For those who remain. That's us. For those who remain, but not just those who remain and do the work that needs to be done. Right? And because we remain, what's going to happen? We're going to do it together with God, the Holy Spirit, and the Lord. Right? So I thought that was inspiring, where he's like, yeah, it's those that remained who are, those are the ones. And I thought, wow, God really, his favor really is upon us. One of the biggest, there's two big themes that came out of this message. One was about suffering and enduring, right? And the other one is about joy and excitement. And it's interesting because it's talking about enduring, continuously taking action, right? That it doesn't matter how hard it is, you just got to keep pushing and pushing. But what's going to happen is the more you endure and keep doing God's will, what happens next? The more your heart is filled with joy and hope, right? Now, why is it filled with joy and hope? It's filled with joy and hope because the more and more you take action, the more you endure and keep doing more and more, the more closer you get to fulfilling the purpose. And that's something I think is really interesting is it's when it's almost like you're going on a marathon, and one of the most exciting times is when you finally see the finish line. You're running that entire time, you're at the 24-mile mark, 25-mile mark, and as you get closer and closer, you see the end point, and it gives you joy. Like, wow, I'm almost done fulfilling my purpose, right? So that is something that what I thought about is it's so true. When we endure and when we do things until the end, this is when it's really exciting because we're like, wow, I'm almost finished. How many times have you had a job or something, you're like, oh my gosh, how long am I going to do this? But then you realize you only have 3 hours left, 2 hours left. And you're like, wow, it's almost done. 1 hour left, 30 minutes, 15 minutes. And you're just so excited. And you're full of excitement and hope because you've almost fulfilled the purpose, right? And I like how this applies to prayer. As the message said, the more you go deep into prayer and continue to keep going deeper, the more spiritual joy and excitement you experience. But as you go deep into prayer and you just decide, this is too much, and you just stop praying and you just jump out of that level, the spiritual joy and excitement is going to end. Right? And specifically, as I wrote it down, it's the spiritual joy and excitement of that day's prayer will end, which means every single day there is a joy and excitement that happens in your prayer, and you just got to push and endure until you reach that point. And what's going to happen if you endure? What's going to happen if you persevere? Because when you hear the word endure, it means you want to get out. Right? You don't want to do it because you're enduring. It's suffering. It's painful. But if you persist, right? Joy and excitement of prayer will keep going and it will not stop. That's how big it is. And I think that's something that maybe we miss sometimes, where we're just praying for the sake of praying. But we don't get that deep into it. And what eventually happens is we kind of just let it take its course and we're done. But we need to endure. We need to persist until we reach that spiritual level of joy and excitement. And, it's not just praying. It's when you're reading the Bible, when you're listening to the word of the words that you hear on Sunday, or the morning messages or the Wednesday messages. As you're listening, if you stop, then the joy and excitement stops. But if you keep wanting to realize more deeply, and I love how the translation for this is, if you want to keep realizing the profound will, then you got to keep going deeper into it. You got to get so immersed into it. Once you come out of it, both joy and excitement will vanish. If you stop, hope will vanish and you lack the strength to do it. Why? Remember, it's about you get excitement and joy from fulfilling the purpose. But if you stop, then everything you did until that point is all wasted. I like the example Sansim used when he talked about when he's building Wolmyeongdong. if those that didn't understand him were the ones that didn't feel the joy and excitement? How do I know Sunsim was so into it? He worked overnight without even sleeping. His mind was so focused, building God's design at the highest level. If he didn't have that joy and excitement, how could he do it overnight? So how do we have to do it? How do we do it? Repeat, think, and keep taking action. Repeat, think, and keep taking action. And this is when we begin to open our hearts to the extreme level. And then wisdom comes. Intelligence will open up, and it'll allow us to take even better action. And this is kind of the definition of what Sunsim wants to tell us of what does it mean to be excited or to be stirred up. That's a big thing. To be excited or to be stirred up, what does it mean? If you repeat, think, keep taking action while immersed in it, then your eyes of wisdom and intelligence will open and enable you to take action to do what? To fulfill the purpose. That's what it means to be stirred up. That's what it means to be excited. Where you're so immersed and into something, you cannot stop. You enjoy it. You don't feel the suffering. That's why Sunsim said, I forgot the suffering of work. I was on fire. And that's how he was able to do things for long periods of time where everyone else is exhausted. Everyone else is like, oh my gosh, how long do I have to do this? But Sunsim, he doesn't stop. He's at that level of joy and excitement. It's only when we get deep and immersed into something, this is when we start to realize things. This is when our hearts become excited, when we realize the word. Like, that's where we got to get deep into it. It's kind of the week that we need to endure, push ourselves so that we get so immersed into these things. I think one of the things that we do lack, and it's a hard thing for us as, to endure. One of the hardest parts about enduring is, what is the level of our patience? What is the level of our patience? Right? We need to reach that. We have to be so immersed into it that we get so excited and so joyful that we become superhuman in that area. We have to reach the highest level, so immersed into it. And remember when Sansi was talking about even singing spiritual songs. And he said something like, you need to sing with spiritual sounds that produces spiritual singing. Give glory to God with spiritual songs. This is when God really accepts it. Right? So even for that, I was just like, wow, it was such a deep message about endurance, the joy and excitement, taking us to that next level. And, when it came to our missions or the things that we need to do in the church and stuff, it says, if people keep taking action in their respective positions in providence, they can handle tribulations, persecutions, and unjust words. Happiness comes and goes, even in the midst of hardships. Pain also comes and goes, even in the midst of joy. That's so deep. Guys, we all have our different positions, whether it's being a mother, being a family, raising the second gen, whether it's the careers, whether it's the leadership or whatnot. We got to keep taking action in our positions. And this is when we can overcome all the crazy things that are happening. Right? Like, one thing that we have to recognize is the great part about experiencing extreme suffering is that God will give you extreme blessings. That's crazy. That's great. Right? Don't stop just because it's difficult. Once you stop, everything is empty because everything you work for is worthless now, right? You've got to reach that level, right? You can't stop, right? Don't stop just because you're struggling and going through a difficult time. The moment you stop, the hope is gone. The message talks about even our personal lives. And it's pretty much a guarantee that when I talk about the difficulties in our personal lives, there are some people out there that are going through some crazy struggles. But you can't stop just because it's hard. And there's this one thing that was said in the messages: there is hope as much as things are difficult. Because of that hope, we keep going despite the hardships because we have a hope in something. We keep doing it despite the difficulties because of hope. So that's why we have to endure. That's why we have to persist. That's why we have to persevere for the purpose of doing things perfectly. One thing about the message I liked, it says you have to possess the heart of wanting to fulfill the purpose. You need to want to fulfill it. This is when it's exciting because you want to fulfill it. You want to make sure it happens. God said in the message, even during times of tribulations, you get everything that should be given. You've been given everything. And God helps us with everything. So take action boldly with your life on the line. Why? Everything that we need is given, and all the help is given by God too. So take action boldly. So I hope that all of us too can really be positive and have that hope that despite what we're going through right now, we can win. And that's a great message, especially what we're going through now, where tomorrow there's another trial, right? Most likely the last trial for the appeal. We need to have that positivity. What is hope? Hope is excitement. So that's why we need to do the work of the missions that we have. Don't stop along the way, because once you stop, all the joy and excitement goes away. It vanishes. It becomes meaningless. Right? And I would say one of the things that Sunseem said that was quite shocking was, if you stop along the way, it also disappoints me. That you've learned to do things until the end. So it makes sense that it makes Sunseem disappointed that you couldn't do that. Right now, Sunseem said, is the extreme final time of carrying out the 1,000-year history. It is the final time, the extreme final time. So in this case, if you want the best things, you must set the best conditions. Right? Set the best conditions. The person who does it to the end, to the extreme, becomes the owner of the treasure hidden in the field. And of course, that's a great message. And you said, we know the story of the treasure hidden in the field, right? This person saw that treasure, and him selling all of his possessions to buy that land, how joyful is he? Right? Yeah, he's going to be a little bit anxious. He's going to be a little bit, miserable and suffering because he sold everything that he has. But when does he start to get excited? Is when he thinks about the treasure. That, wow, I'm in possession of this. We're in province right now, and Sunseem said that physically it is suffering and hardships, but spiritually it is a history of joy and excitement. And it's explained absolutely by the message. How is it explained? Well, it's a history of joy and excitement because we're on the path of fulfilling, right? We're on the path of fulfilling hope, fulfilling the purpose. And that's what gives us joy and excitement. Don't stop just because it's physically or even mentally hard. Hey, did you catch that one point where the message said, I gave you a big blessing? You will know when the time comes. Your teacher already knows. I'm wondering what that actually is. What is that big blessing that we've received? Right? I'm not sure about it. But obviously it has to do with all that we have endured as a history. right? Just to get to this path right now. Of course, there were some sections about people leaving Providence, right? Those that could not endure the tribulations, right? But I thought altogether it was just a great message altogether. There's this one part that I think that we should really learn from Sunsim is when he said that he realized just how important it was that Jesus, the King of Kings, was teaching him personally. There was joy and excitement from realizing that, wow, this is one of the biggest things that's happening right now, which is what? That Jesus is teaching me. And that's something that we need to learn too, right? We do need to learn, who are we learning from? Right? The man of mission that the majority of the people in Providence for the next 1,000 years will never, ever meet. That's just what it is. Do we have that joy? Just like Sunsim has that, oh my goodness, I can't believe Jesus is teaching me, and is giving him joy and excitement. Are we thinking the same thing for ourselves too in this history? Right? Are we really, really thinking that? Like with the way Sunsim treats the words of God. Remember, right before the rapture, on the day of the rapture, the Holy Son leaves, right? And all the spirits rapture into the golden city, right? As the Holy Son left, after entrusting things to the man of mission, the Holy Son said, everyone do well. That's all he said. Everyone do well. But Sunsim keeps it in mind. All of us must work diligently. We should all take responsibility and do it because we were entrusted with the work. The Holy Son said, do well. And Sunsim can take an entire message from that too. He realized the values. Right? He really does. And that's something that we have to recognize also. Tribulation, guys, we're going through it right now. It's painful. It really is. But we also have to remember, nothing is free. What does that mean? It means that us going through tribulation means that there is going to be something that we gain. We can't do it if there's no tribulations. And that's why we have to gain strength, persevere, get it done. That's what we got to do. Right? Look at Jesus. How much hardship did he go through? But he made loving and serving God his joy, his excitement. And this is why we can only do things well and easily, not feeling the suffering, is when we have that joy and when we're excited. Because when you don't like something, what happens? You can't do it for a long time. I was listening to this quote by Mike Tyson. It was a YouTube short. And what he said was, what is discipline? Discipline is when you do something you don't want to do, but you do it like you love it. That's powerful, don't you think? Discipline is when you do something you don't like, but you do it like you love it. And it's like, that's the feeling, that's, you don't like it, you can't do it for a long time, so you make yourself like it. You do it like you love it. So I hope that all of us will really understand this week's message really well. And, as the message said near the end, what was it talking? It talked about everything in life has suffering and joy. Everything. Whether it's business, whether it's politics, whether it's religion, whether it's love, whether it's the arts, whether it's whatever it is that happens in the world, everything has both suffering and joy. We'll go through all of them. And when you look at everyone in all those categories that were successful, they all face the difficult times. But they still fulfilled what they're supposed to do, and they received the greatest blessings. We have to be those that understand that it is far better to suffer and gain than to not suffer and gain nothing. And Sunsim even said it's 10,000 times better. It is eternally better. God, the Holy Spirit, and Jesus always said this to Sunsim: you have gained everything. Therefore, suffering will come. Will you throw away what you've gained just because of that? We've already gained it. And because we've gained it, we've already received the rapture. What's coming? It's suffering. But you're going to throw everything away because of that when we've already gained everything? And there's this other part that I never really thought about this. But Sunsim talked about what he was talking to us about in 2018. And Sunsim said, let's work to death for 4 years. And from 2018, what was Sunsim doing? Doing the trees and the rocks, managing them, and then that's in the daytime, and then sports in the evening, all the way to pre-dawn. And he says, let's do it for 4 years. 4 years. But at that time, no one really understood. That was from 2018 to 2022. Because what's going to happen after 2023 was the big, huge tribulation. There are so many things that Sunsim says that we just don't understand. And that's why it's far better to do what? It's far better to just listen and obey, right? That's the key. And there's going to be people who are going to regret saying that, oh man, I should have done that. I should have done that. How many of us are regretting still about the rapture? Not being there in Wonmyeongdong. Suffering is something that we all have to understand suffering is something that we're going to go through anyways, right? As we go through suffering, it's worth it because there's joy and excitement from gaining something after that suffering. So I hope that we won't try to avoid suffering at all costs. Suffering is necessary. There's also that other part I liked where Sunsim said, whenever a life leaves, God gives us someone better. When we, Sunsim's like, when we were discouraged because a prepared tree died, God gave us the symbolic pine tree, which is bigger and twice as big, right? There's always something better that comes. And we have to be those that will understand this too. Yeah, there are a lot of people that left, but God will bring better people. So do it with excitement. This history, this 6,000-year history is ending at this time right now. This is the final time. So don't worry about the tribulations. Don't worry about the suffering. It's a time to clean and judge the world, a time to clean individuals. It's a time right now where the righteous are suffering. And guys, take it as joy that we are suffering together with the one who is sent. That is our joy, that he does not do it alone. So I hope that all of us, let's set the conditions during this time here. Let's do it well. Right? Not just do it, let's do it really well. Yeah. So, very, very powerful word. And it's something that I hope that all of us, as the message says, even during times of tribulations, be joyful, be excited, keep your faith. Right? We're doing something that is far greater than any of the things that the message talked about, like the drugs, smoking, alcohol, all these different things, the opposite sex. And something even went into just getting angry and enraged. We have to understand the joy and excitement about keeping our faith in this difficult time. Right? Even if things are difficult, guys, right now, be people of absolute faith and take action on God's will to the end, peacefully, by being excited to do righteousness, be excited to do your mission. Okay? There's it. That's it, guys. That is kind of the Sunday message. Hope you guys really enjoyed that. If you have any questions, let me know about that too. Okay? And you can leave something in the comments if there's something you want to add also. So there it is, guys. That is the Sunday Message Word Study. Hope you guys enjoyed it. So before we get into Provi the Media, let's get into the final music break of the day.
Y'all ready for this?
Shown you love me with things you've given. You know I love you. I'm already singing about the stories that we have together. It's here forever. It will only get better from now on. Everything that you've given, I'm so grateful. Let me show you my love, 'cause I'm so thankful. Let us dance on the streets. Let us rock to the beat. Show me how you feel about me. Watch me move my feet. You're always on my mind. I can feel it in my heart. Everything's alright, 'cause you're not so far. Please take my hand and love me through a dance. I wanna show you my love, so give me a chance. We have stories of joy and pain, but that's okay, 'cause that's like dancing in the wind. And I will say it again, I'ma dance with you.
I'ma dance with you. I'ma dance with you. We can move to the beat. Our love so complete. I'ma dance with you. I'ma dance with you. I'ma dance with you. We can groove to the beat. Our love so complete.
You've shown your loving, you gave me a chance. And with the mistakes I've made, I've never fallen away from you. Though times are rough, it'll be okay, 'cause I am never, ever, ever gonna leave you astray. Hey, thunderstorms are a little scary, but with you, I won't feel weary. Even on cloudy days when skies are gray, my heart's a cave. The sun will shine through the rain today. Let us dance on the streets. Let us rock to the beat. Show me how you feel about me. Watch me move my feet. You're always on my mind. I can feel it in my heart. Everything's alright, 'cause you're not so far. Please take my hand and love me through a dance. I wanna show you my love, so give me a chance. We have stories of joy and pain, but that's okay, 'cause that's like dancing in the wind. And I will say it again, I'ma dance with you.
I'ma dance with you. I'ma dance with you. We can move to the beat. Our love so complete. I'ma dance with you. I'ma dance with you. I'ma dance with you. We can groove to the beat. Our love so complete. I'ma dance with you.
Okay, so let's get into the final segment for today. And it's going to be a little bit short because we do have a trial tomorrow. And I did already give, did I give an update on this trial? I'm not sure if I actually gave an update on this the trial that just happened last week. But it went from like 10 a.m. in the morning all the way to like 7:30 p.m. There were some witnesses that testified. But the two big ones that testified was actually about the audio file. Like those are the big witnesses that came out. And it's interesting because the prosecution brought out a sound expert. And this person basically said that the file was not manipulated. But interestingly, later, our team, our lawyers, brought out a super famous sound forensics expert from Korea. And they call him Professor Bae from Sungsil University. And this guy, like the person writing this article said, was super professional. He's been in this situation before. He's actually solved a lot of cases by doing audio forensics and such. And he basically said it is absolutely manipulated. He goes through all the markers and points and all this technical jargon, but he was the one that testified powerfully that, hey, this is a fake file. This is absolutely fake. He talks about the woman and the man's voice put together, something to do with the sound width that wasn't right, that it had to be synthesized or manipulated, right? So it's very interesting how you had both sides bringing in sound engineers, one saying that it's true, one saying that it's fake. But the person that we brought out is famous and someone who's solved a lot of like police cases and stuff like that too. So that was kind of like the big thing that happened at that time. There will be tomorrow once again 10 a.m. That's going to be tomorrow at 10 a.m. is going to be the next trial and most likely the last one. And from what I read in the article, I think it's very possible that you'll have a decision coming out from the end of today's trial or tomorrow's trial. Tomorrow's trial. Sorry about that. So that is quite exciting to hear, and I hope that we can continue to pray even more. I know some people are fasting for this too, but this is something that we should all be really have in our hearts and our minds because this is such a big thing that's going to affect all the other trials that happen after it too. All right, so just one more day, final trial. Let's just see what actually happens here. All right, so if there are any other, I'm not sure if there's anything else that needs to be reported. It's basically the last trial tomorrow, so I pray that all of us will make sure that the conditions are set so that God can make justice happen. Okay? So there it is, guys. That is the end of today's Monday podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys are enjoying the beginning of your new week. I hope that if you have anything else, things that are going on in your hearts or your minds, just let me know if you need prayer or anything else like that too. Have a great day, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and feel your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head